everyone, I'm Laura Myers for CMS-Connected, speaking with Dion Picco, VP of Product Management, Product Marketing, and UX at Progress Sitefinity, about their strengths in the market, how they're different in their space, and what the biggest challenges are faced by their customers. Hey Dion, how are you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Laura?
I'm fantastic, thank you. So in the WCM market, what would you say are the strengths of your platform that set it above the rest?
Oh, good question. I think the first that always jumps out when people evaluate or use our product is really the usability of it. So, if you're a true craftsman, you really appreciate your tools. And I think the same thing is true of any web designer, web developer. They really love to work with Sitefinity. It's super clean, it's super responsive, very performant. Obviously that's so important. You don't want to be waiting there for things to churn, and just very intuitive. So I think the usability always turns out to be number one. I think beyond that, mobility is always an important thing for folks. The way you build responsive web applications with Sitefinity, I think, is really second to none. And combine that with the strengths of what Progress brings as an organization, I think mobility is truly a differentiation overall. Third, really, I think there's a number of things I could put in there, multi-site, multi-language, I'll keep going on and on, but I think usability and mobility I'll highlight as really the ones that bring the dollars in at the end of the day.
Those are great points to make, and I'm glad actually you brought up the organization, because I'm curious, as a whole, what makes your organization different than others that offer a similar product?
What Progress really does is that we specialize in app dev platforms overall. And so the idea of building a building a website, building a mobile app, I think we can really elevate that experience. So we can provide you the way to build true native mobile apps, not just responsive web apps. Again, fine preference if people want to go that way. But building true native mobile apps, they write once, run anywhere, where the content can really be served from Sitefinity in more of a headless fashion. So you can use Sitefinity to build your website, have a true native mobile app experience, deploy it, build Apple Watch apps besides, but have a centralized content repository. I think really when you look at that as a holistic basis, it is really one of the areas where Progress can differentiate. A lot of folks obviously want a native mobile app experience. I think beyond that is really our focus on cognitive applications in particular. We're really at a point, I think, where there's so much data, it's beyond human scale at this point. And so the idea of bringing machine learning and that idea of cognitive applications to bear is so important. So with Sitefinity today, you see things like personalization, for example, being driven by machine learning capabilities, which is so important to a marketer who's trying to optimize and drive increased conversions, for example. But what Progress really brings in terms of our anomaly prediction, I think can just be amazing for companies who might be building a manufacturing website, maybe where you want to get up-to-date views of machine status and whether or not they're going to fail in the near future. Or the work we're doing around chatbots, I think, can be transformational, both for people who are building websites and interacting with the system in a much different way, or for users of a site who can interact in a chatbot fashion. I think the overall approach to cognitive computing, machine learning, is one of the things that we really bring to market as a company, as a focus that I think is going to be really, hopefully, revolutionary in the next few years.
Sounds like your aim is really to change the market for the better. In terms of the consumer market, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you see your customers facing when it comes to utilizing a web content management system?
So for us, a lot of our sales are towards mid-market. And I think this is a pain point that is probably more acutely felt by mid-market, and it's no surprise. It's the resourcing. People don't really appreciate how much time and feeding and care really needs to go into personalizing web journeys and user journeys, optimizing your SEO, constantly refining your content. And so what we see is that companies burst on those activities. They'll set up basic personalization and user journeys, and then they're gone off to do something else, the new website page that needs to be built. And so they're not going back and iteratively refining the things they have. So it's really one of resourcing. I think beyond that is that they're really struggling with how to apply a lot of those new techniques in a way that makes sense for their business domain. And so they might understand how to implement personalization from a technology perspective, but how do I best personalize a website that actually improves my business or increases conversions? That business domain knowledge and applying that with the process, I see a lot of breakdown there still. So great area to innovate. I think, like I said, machine learning is certainly going to solve some of those pain points, but there's still a little bit of a gap, and that's where I see companies struggle all the time today.
That is such a valid point. I'm sure many can relate to. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Dion. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, thank you, Laura. All the best.
Same to you. That was Dion Picco going over how they hope to revolutionize the industry in the next few years.